Nikkoel Doing, and I work at Park Avenue Salon and Spa in Hershey, PA. And today we're going to be coloring my client Margot's hair. So we are going to break this session up into 2 appointments. We're going to start off here by just analyzing our hair and kind of just checking on how I want to attack this project, because we're going to basically do some of the Prism color, and I think we're gonna do purple going in sections that don't have the Prism in them. So I'm really excited for it. But as you can see, she has some grown out color. Looks like she's probably about a level, I'd say 7-ish in through here, 7, 8-ish. And then on her ends, definitely kind of a 9. And then she's got some gray up top with a level 6, 7 in here. So there's a couple different ways we're gonna do this, because I need her to be really, really light so I can get these really cool, vibrant colors in her hair. So essentially we're gonna lighten her all over. Okay, before I start her hair, I wanna talk about some of the important things that I'm utilizing through our whole Aveda hair color line. The Botanical Repair #1. So I'm going to coat her hair in this before we actually start coloring, and what that's gonna do is just gonna protect her hair. Another thing it does is it literally works with the bonds of your hair that make up your hair, and it multiplies those bonds. So it kind of works as like an insurance card while I'm coloring. So I want to keep her hair as nice and just as healthy as possible, but we definitely got to get her pretty light. Another thing that I used too was color viscosity. I love this product because when I mix my lightener, I'll mix about 8 grams of that into 40 grams of lightener or color, whichever I'm using. But I like using that because it stops my foils from slipping and then gives you a really nice foil. What we'll do is we're gonna section. So I started off using 20 volume, and we're only going to use that from about, I'd say, 1.5 inches away from her scalp to these ends right here, because what's gonna happen, this is gonna lighten too fast, and if I use the 20 on this, it's also gonna lighten too fast. The heat from her head is going to make it process much, much faster, and this, because it's already pre-lightened, is gonna lighten like that. So let's get her sectioned up here. And then we're gonna do a lot of foils. All right, so we're gonna start in the back because that's where she's the darkest. So I'm gonna have you tilt down for me. And then we're just gonna take really thin slices. And when you're foiling, try and start in the middle and then feather your way to the top, because we're eventually gonna pull these foils out. Then we're gonna go back in, we're gonna do her roots and ends with a lower developer, just so we don't destroy her hair. So, the reason I chose doing it this way instead of just putting lightener all over is because you get a much more clean, even lift. The hair in the foil will process so much more even than just letting it open air process, and you'll get it a lot lighter too. I forgot to mention too that I mixed 8 grams of the Botanical Repair #2 as well into the lightener, and my mixing ratio as far as which developer and lightening powder, how much I did was 1:1. And I chose that because the lightening is in the powder, so I'll get a stronger lift too. Just depends kind of what you're doing. So I wanted to go quicker today, so that's why I chose the 1:1. But with 20 volume, so that'll lift her safely. Usually when I'm doing, more of a platinum card like this, I don't like to go any higher than 20 volume. Definitely when you're trying to get pretty light too, another thing that happens if you're using too light, or not too light, too strong of a developer, what happens is because that developer is working so fast, it tends to like swell that cuticle and you tend to get a warmer tone. So that's why I always say low and slow is the way to go, because you're gonna get the nicest, cleanest lift. It's gonna take you longer, but it's 1000% worth it. What we're gonna do now is, see how these ends are lighter? So I'm gonna foil her, but I'm gonna stop here and leave these out and then go back in when I do her roots, just so we don't destroy her hair. When you're foiling at the sides here, I mean, if I were doing a standard foil, I'd really worry about angling it, but just because we're trying to get her super light, that's really not gonna matter, but I guess it's just habit. So just trying to make sure everything's saturated, and then after I get her where she needs to be light-wise, we'll do the roots and the ends. Decided when I do her ends, I'm gonna use 10 volume. And that actually should get her ends right where I need them to be to match them to her roots. Or not her roots, her mid-shaft. When I fold my foils, just so they stay in place, I fold this last section up about 1/2 inch and just crease the sides. That way they kind of locks them really nicely in place so they don't slide all over the place. Now we're at the point where that I've got her really, really nice and light, so I can actually take these out. And then we'll start applying to roots and ends. Well, a lot of her hair down here didn't really have a lot of lightness on her ends, so most of that we were able just to do the whole thing. I'm just going one by one. The great thing about using Aveda's lightener is they actually have a protective cream that will protect your scalp for anything on scalp lightening. So I definitely added that to her mixture with the lightener. So this will go pretty fast now. So then we'll just let her roots lighten up, and after I'm done with this, I'll double check her ends and just double check everything, period. And we should be ready to rock then. I'm really happy with how nice and even I got this. Portion, we're gonna start in the back section here. We're gonna start with purple here, and then we're gonna do a rainbow kind of right here, kind of like a U shape. Top will be purple, so just gonna make our way around the perimeter of my purple section. So with my formulations, I'm using all the Aveda Vivids. They don't need mixed with any developers, just direct dyes. When you're working with the vibrance, you really want to make sure you're saturating it, because sometimes it doesn't always take. So when you get it on the hair, you kind of want to brush it on and then like mash it through really well. So I think this is pretty well it for the bottom section, and then we can actually start the rainbow stuff, which I'm really excited about. As I said, I did basically like a halo section for her rainbow pieces. So she has a side part, so I did have to work around that. That was a little more challenging for the sectioning, but I'll go over that after.